Hello guys, now we are going to have more advanced look at metasploit and we are going to see how to use it to exploit a vulnerability that exists in a certain service. It is a code execution vulnerability that will give us full access to the computer target. Now coming back to our result in nmap, we are going to do the same thing that we did before. We copy the service name and see whether it has any vulnerability or not. Okay. So now we will look at the port number 139, which has a Samba server version 3.x. Just like the previous video or section, we are going to go to Google and search for, first of all, let me open browser. And here, it will take some time. Actually, I'm opening it first time. Okay, so now we are having here this particular browser. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type google.com and hit enter. So after hitting enter, you'll see this Google search engine. So now here I'm going to search Samba 3.x exploit and hit enter. So what happened here is we will see that there are a number of results, but we are interested in Rapid7. Okay, Rapid7. Okay, so Rapid7 is a company that makes the metasploit framework, so that's why we choose this particular exploit. Okay, that's why we are choosing this particular exploit. Okay, this one, Rapid7 Samba. Okay, so that's why we have chosen this particular website. Okay, so this is the exploit that we have here. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do here is I'm going to simply open our terminal window. So first, what the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply, okay, it is not working properly actually, so it is creating some problem. Okay, so next what I'm going to do, I'm going to just quit this. Okay, so opening this terminal window, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom it, and after zooming it, I'm going to type msf console and hitting enter. So what it will do, it will simply open the msf metasploit framework for us. With the help of that, we can perform this particular attack. So it will take some time because it is a huge framework, as I have told you earlier that it is a huge framework. So the command that we are going to use, simply we are going to type use exploit multi samba user map script. So this is the name of this particular exploit, so that we are going to use. Okay, so as you can see, that is starting the metasploit framework console. It will take some time. You have to wait till the completion of this. And as you can see that we are successfully completed this particular process. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use exploit multi samba user map script. Okay, is this correct? Okay, now hit enter. So after hitting enter, as you can see that we are inside it. Okay, so we are currently no period configure default cmd. Okay, so currently exploit some. Okay, we are inside this. So next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to just show options and hit enter. So as you can see that this is showing us the option. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we are going to simply set something. Okay, so we are going to set something, that is, as you can see, this is the L host. Okay, where is our host is empty. So I'm going to set our host, which is the IP address of target. So for target IP address, I need to see what is the IP address of target. So this is the target machine that we are having here. So IP address is 10.2. Okay, 10.0.2.5. So this is IP address. Now again, so options, hit enter. As you can see that the R host is being set. Now it's time, as you can see, port is correct, Now lhost, this is the IP address. Okay, so lhost is the IP address of our machine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see some payloads also. So why we need payload here? So in the preceding video, we need a backdoor that was already installed on the target computer. So all we had to do was connect to the backdoor, and then we could run any Linux command on that particular operating system or on that particular system. But in this video, the target computer does not have a backdoor. So it has a normal program that has a command execution vulnerability and buffer overflow. So the program does not have any code that allows us to run Linux command. So it has a certain flaw that will let us run a small piece of code, and this small piece of code is called as payload. Okay. So what we need to do is to create a payload and then run it on target computer using the vulnerability that we found. And the piece of code will allow us to do it's a different thing. Okay. So there are various types of payload. So we will look at in the future, and that payload might let us to do Linux command, and we can run the so payload also here. So before running it, I need to figure out each and everything is correct or not. Okay, lhost is now okay. Our host port number, L port is correct, and the port. Okay, I think everything is working fine. So I'm going to just type so payload, hit enter. So after hitting enter, you can find that we are having these many payloads. Okay, when you scroll it up, you will see these many payloads that we have here. Okay, so now the payloads are the small piece of code that we will be executed on a target computer. Once the vulnerability has been exploited, when we exploit the vulnerability, the code that we are going to pick will be executed. Now, depending on the type of payload we choose, the payload will do something that is useful to us. So we can see that all the payloads are command line. So they let us run a command on the target computer. So there are two main types of payload, which first one is bind payload and the second one is reverse payload. So if we talk about bind payload, so they open the port on the target computer and then we connect to that particular port. But let's talk about reverse payload. Reverse payload is opposite to the bind payload. They open the port in our machine and then they connect from the target computer to our machine. So this payload is useful because this allows us to bypass firewalls. Firewalls filter any connection going to the target machine. But if the target machine connect to us and we don't have a firewall, then we will be able to bypass the firewall. Okay, is this correct? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the payload. So for setting the payload, I'm going to use set payload. Is this correct? Now, command that I'm going to do is, or the payload that I'm going to use is cmd unix reverse netcat. Okay, this is the payload. Now hit enter. So after hitting enter, as you can see that we have successfully selected the payload. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is so options. So after hitting enter, now let's see what we are having here is, okay, let me scroll it up. Multi samba, yes, module option, is this correct? Yes, correct. This port number, and this is the L host of mine, and this is L port. Okay, I think everything is looking very fine. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply use set. First of all, I need to set the L port, which is 5555. Okay, now hit enter. Now again, so options, hit enter. So as you can see that we have successfully set our host, our port, L host, L port. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply exploit this payload. Hit enter. So after hitting enter, as you can see that the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show the current working directory. Now we are currently inside the root. Now ID, it will tell us the ID. So this is the ID, and I want to know the uname. So this is a second way to exploit any vulnerability. now hit enter. So this is the username, and now I want to see how many files inside this current working directory. So these are the files that we have inside it. So this is how you can find vulnerability using Zenmap. So the basic process here is you open Zenmap, enter the target IP address, and after entering IP address, you will find there are some open ports. Okay, so after seeing some open ports, you just Google them and learn about them and see how many what kind of exploits and what kind of payloads available there. And after taking all this information, you can exploit that particular vulnerability, or what kind of vulnerability it contains inside it. I am talking about ports. Okay, so this is how you can exploit all the kinds of vulnerability. So this is all for this lecture. So thank you for watching this lecture.